Hi there, so today I'm going to show you how to make these simple wire and beaded rings that I have here, and they're a really quick make, so if you want to make something and you don't have a lot of time, they're a perfect one. And all they are is some beads across the front and then a nice wire piece at the back, and they make really pretty and kind of comfortable rings as well, because I find a lot of wire rings are not as comfortable. And I love to stack them and kind of do things like that. I think they look really nice. Great, so without further ado, we'll get on to making. The first thing you're going to need to make your ring are some beads to go at the front. So for this one, I'm going to show you with this nice little strand of rose quartz beads. So I tend to use quite small beads for this ring because they're actually going to sit on your finger. It's not so comfortable with larger beads. So choose some nice small beads. And I've got some 0.4mm silver wire here as well. So that's what I'm going to be working with. So I'm just going to cut a length of that off. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers about 1 centimetre away from the end of the wire. And I'm just going to go over the top, under, and round to make a loop. So if you've never made a loop before, we do have some more in-depth tutorials covering this on the site, but I'm going to assume you kind of know how to make a loop. So just do it like that, and then take my pliers out, and you can see hopefully that I've got a nice little loop there. Then using some cutters, I'm just going to cut the spare bit off. And using my chain nose pliers, I'm just going to squash the sharp end in to make sure that there's no sharp bit sticking out. Great, so now I'm ready to take my beads and put them on. Just going to thread them onto the wire. So that loop at the end is just to hold them in place for now. And I want to thread my beads on so that they kind of cover the front of my finger. So it's entirely up to you how many you use. These beads are kind of shaped more oval-like than round, because they're kind of like chip beads, they're gemstones. So I'll need more of these than I would with the round ones. I love choosing my beads and selecting them from the bead shop. I think that's one of my favourite parts of jewellery making. Get addicted to choosing the different colours. Right, so that looks good for the front of my ring, and it's going to cover pretty much the front section of the ring that's showing. So now I want to close the other end, so I'm just going to make a loop at this end exactly like the one that I made at the beginning. So I take my round nose pliers again, and I put it just slightly after the last bead. Take the wire over and under and round, and then a couple of wraps there just to hold it in place. And what I always do as well, because I want the loop to be central and not to one side, I just hold my beads with one hand and then just slightly twist it, and then it makes the loop more central. So that's a little tip that I find really helpful. Then take it out and I can cut off my excess wire. Just put that to the side. And then using my chain nose pliers again, I'm just going to squash that end in. And then that's the front part of my bead. So actually with that same technique I could make quite a few things. So that I could put it on a chain and have it as a necklace, or I could put it on like a bit of chain and have it as an earring. But for this project we're doing it as a ring. So that's just the front part. Now I'm going to take a mandrel, which is like a tapered, this one's wooden. You can get all different kinds of mandrels, but it's basically just a stick, a wooden stick. And I'm going to give my gemstones a little bit of a curl, so I'm just going to take it to one end and just wrap them around. Now my finger isn't that small, but it does give it a nice curve so that when I come to shape it later, it's going to fit kind of nicely around the front. If you don't have one of these, obviously you can just shape it around anything that's curved, so any kind of household objects. So that's the front bit. Now I want to make the back, which is this curved wire bit. So I'm going to use a thicker wire. This is 0.8 millimeters thick, and I'm just going to take a length of that. It's way more than I need, but we'll start with a big piece and cut it down. You can always reuse your bits of wire. So I'm going to make a loop at one end. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the end and I'm putting my round nose pliers on there at the top of my pliers, just holding it in place, making sure there's nothing sticking out the other side. Then whilst holding that nice and tight, I'm going to just wrap this round to make a loop, and sometimes I open and close it to just kind of twist it round. So then I've got a nice little loop. I'm going to put my pliers back in there, and with the tail sticking out the bottom, I'm just going to push towards the bottom of my pliers so that I can centralize that loop, and then I've got more of a central shape. Now I want to attach one of my ends to there, so to do that I'm just going to very slightly open that loop, and then I can thread my gemstones on, and you can see that I want to have it so that the curve of my gemstone piece is facing the same way. If you imagine that's the front of the ring. So then I'm just going to close that up. So put my pliers in, close it round. As I said, we do have some tutorials that are more in depth on how to make loops and things like that, so if you're struggling with those bits, do have a look through the other ones on the channel. And now I want to make a curve in the back of my piece, so the wire piece here, I want to make it curved. So I'm going to go a bit further up my mandrel towards where my sort of ring size is. If you're not sure what your ring size is, you can just choose a ring that you're already wearing, putting it on a mandrel and make a little pencil mark, so you can see little marks there from when I've done that before. And I'm just going to shape it around it, so I'm just taking the wire and shaping it around the piece. I'm not too worried about exact sizing for now, I'm just getting the shape of the wire at the back. So then the next thing I'm going to want to do is thread my gemstone piece on the other side onto here. So obviously I can't do that because the wire's too long, so I'm just going to cut my wire down to a size where I can fit it on, and I'm sliding that on there. So this is where I want to work out my sizing. So I'm going to place my whole piece onto my finger, push it down and work out exactly how long I need it in order to fit. Then I'm just going to slide it off. So don't worry about the shape, I'm just getting the sizing now. And I'm going to cut about 1 centimetre, maybe even a tiny bit less, from the place where I want my ring to end. So that's where my finger is now. And I'm just going to cut a little bit further up, and that's to leave space for me to make a loop. So I've just cut there. And then I'm going to make my loop, so I get the gemstones out the way for a bit. Put it into my pliers at the end, push round like we did before. So I'm just making a loop exactly like the other side. Take my pliers to the end and pull that back to centralize the loop. Then I'm going to just slightly open my loop and pull the gemstones back. Now this bit can be a little bit fiddly because I've got to kind of get them round the loop. I want to get them to the front, so I've got them to the front there. Then I'm going to close my loop up, so just put my pliers back in, close that round. Nice. And then I have my ring, but you can see the shape isn't brilliant, so all I'm going to do is place it onto my mandrel, push it down, and this is where I really shape the piece. and just go round till you've got a nice lovely curve. Take it off, and there you have a finished wire and beaded ring. Simple. And as I said, they look lovely on. They're very comfortable. Stacking is definitely my favourite, but if you're not a stacker, you can always just go for one simple piece. And that's it, that's the project. So I hope you enjoyed. As always, subscribe if you'd like to learn more about jewellery making. Let me know what you'd like to learn. Leave comments or send us a message so we can do tutorials to fit what you want to learn. And I have listed all the tools and materials used in the tutorial today in the links below. If you do make any pieces, please do share them with us on our site or on social media. And until next time, I hope you enjoy and happy jewellery making.